Hello, this is Wmpyr here with a looped video, and this video is just gonna keep going, and because it's on a loop, and I'm just going to talk over it. Okay, um, I'm here to talk about partner training. So that's basically what you're seeing here is partner training drills. Okay, but I've been very vocal recently that the partner training drills need to evolve. They need to change, okay, from because what they are right now, we have a lot of partner drills in Filipino martial arts today, but a lot of them I feel are unrealistic and unapplicable for real life combat or real life self-defense. Therefore, we need to change it, okay? um, Now some people may say, well, why don't you just do full contact sparring? It's going to be a lot more realistic than this. True, but there's limitations, there's problems with full contact sparring because you cannot train that way with everybody. There's weight divisions for a reason in combat sports. The other problem is age wise. You can't do that, you know, you just can't do that your whole life. And the other thing is you're gonna get injury. You're gonna get banged up really bad doing full contact training. So the amount that you can do is going to be limited, which doesn't make sense for martial arts because in order to develop skill, you need a lot of repetitions. So it goes against those things. Partner training, on the other hand, you'll be able to do it with anybody. You'll also be able to do it at pretty much any age. And you could do this injury free. It's not going to hurt you. So partner training is amazing. The only problem is you still need to train it realistically. And that's what I'm here to talk about. So this is a really, really good drill right here. It's a simple drill that if you've done Filipino martial arts, you're gonna have encountered this. You probably have done this or some form of this, okay? And all we're doing is, even though we're holding sticks, we're throwing punches at each other. And to me, that is excellent because in real life, even if you have a weapon, you may not always be in range to use that weapon properly. So then, if you end up too close or something, you don't ever want to forget that at the end of the day, when you're holding a weapon, that is a closed fist. So you could punch, even though you're holding a weapon. With that hand, you can punch. And this drill reminds you of that. So I really, really like this technique here of punching with the weapon. And to me, this links us to something like knife boxing. So I really, really like that. Um, what I've seen is, like, for example, the Balintawak people, they also do similar stuff where their punching is connected with their stick work. And once again, I really, really like that. That to me is important. So that's why you see us doing that here. Now, the problem that I see with the Balintawak training, a lot of times what you're seeing is way too complex. And what you're seeing, what we're doing here is very, very simple. And so what happens is in Filipino martial arts, people tend to look at the more complex partner drills and they go, that's where it's at. That's the good stuff. And they look down on simple stuff like this. And that is unfortunate because A, that's an arrogant attitude and it's incorrect. Because at the end of the day, if you really want your stuff to be usable in real life, in a real life situation, then you need to simplify. So that's what I don't like about what I see a lot of times in the Balintawak partner training is that it's way too complex. You go here and you see what we're doing. It's similar. It's a much, much more simplified thing that we're doing. Basically parrying from the outside, but then we switch it up to where we start parrying on the inside. So that's basically, you could parry on the outside and you could parry on the inside, okay? And that's it. That's it. You could just stay with one. But then when you first learn this kind of thing, right? When you first learn this, usually the training partners face each other square, so they're not in a realistic fighting stance, and they have no footwork, and they just stand in front of each other, and they're doing this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's fine. That's fine. If for learning it, getting comfortable with it, that's fine. Once you start getting comfortable with it, you want to start taking more of a fighting stance, okay? You want to start moving around a little bit more, okay? Those are things that you can do to make it a little bit more realistic. Now, the other thing is we could start adding the punches with a little bit more force. We're not doing that here, but that's definitely one of the things that you could do. You could start speeding it up. You could start throwing it directly at the face, you know, with much more intent. So if they don't parry it or block it, it could hit them. But remember, you know, we are not trying to go full contact. We want to make it realistic, but we want to go incremental, little by little. So I hope you guys can understand what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to change the Filipino martial arts partner drills and try to make them more realistic so that we know how to use it. Okay, we know how to use it. And so from here, what we're doing here, another thing we could do is, to me, is very important, is to engage and disengage. That's because we're constantly staying here in a safe, it's safe for us because I know exactly how far away he is, and we're going to maintain that. Even though we move a little bit, we might have a little bit, tiny bit of footwork, we maintain that space. In real life, maintaining that space is going to be much, much more difficult. Things collide, things can clash where the space is suddenly gone. Or you could move away, you could back off, and then all of a sudden, they're further away and they're out of reach. So engaging and disengaging, and then also like running forwards, which you got to be careful with because once again, we don't want to get hurt. Getting injured is the enemy, but we want to incorporate easy to understand elements. They need to be easy to understand, realistic elements put into this drill. And that's not, okay, like right now I'm throwing this punch. Well, I'm going to change it to an uppercut. I'm going to change it to a backhand. I'm going to change. That is not what we want to do because once again, that will just make the drill more complex. And to me, the problem is that is where a lot of Filipino martial arts is today. They're doing that kind of stuff where they're adding all these different techniques, whereas instead of adding all these different techniques, just do one technique, which is what we're doing here, is a simple punch, right, with the right hand, a punch basically to the face with the right hand, and you just dealing with that. How can we make that more realistic? Disengage, engage. Charge in while you punch. You know, put in more force while you punch. Add a fake and then punch. You know, just things like that. Move and then punch. Still keeping the same technique, just doing it a little bit more realistic at a time. That to me is way, way, way more valuable and way more priority than let's add an uppercut, let's add a hook, let's add a backhand, let's add an overhand right. You know, okay, now let's also put in the left hand. It's, once again, it's not about the amount of techniques, but instead it's about the quality of technique that you're going to put in. Just one technique, put in the quality, and that's much, much more better. Because in a real life situation, you may not even face a guy that's going to throw a straight punch and then a hook and then an uppercut and then a backhand and then an overhand. No, he might just use one punch over and over and over and over again. That's real life. That's more realistic than what you're going to encounter in a real life situation. You know, they're going to stick with what works for them, and they're going to, believe me, they're going to kind of be set in a pattern where they're just going to do that over. And if they know that can work, especially if they're experienced and they fought before and they know that they could hurt someone with that, guess what they're going to use? They're going to rely on that, you know. That's why you see what the Dog Brothers call the sewing machine, where it's a simple move. It's just a knife repeatedly coming at the same target, the same area over and over and over again, but it's devastating. So simplify, folks. So that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.